Welcome to Midnight Horror, the channel where nightmares come to life. Here, we bring you spine-chilling horror stories, unsolved mysteries, and supernatural phenomena that will haunt your dreams. Join us as we explore the dark corners of the world, from forgotten ghost towns to haunted houses filled with eerie tales. With each video, you'll experience heart-pounding terror, suspense, and unforgettable thrills. If you love horror, crave ghostly stories, and want to test your courage, then Midnight Horror is the place for you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to ensure you never miss a new video. Step into a world of horror and mystery, only on Midnight Horror.
I used to be a normal kid, just like any other. The old house where I grew up was situated in a quiet neighborhood in Massachusetts, where the laughter of children often mingled with the rustling leaves in the wind. I lived with my parents in a 3-story house, with my bedroom on the second floor right below the attic. Every morning I would wake up to the sunlight streaming through my window curtains and see little birds chirping outside. Life was peaceful and ordinary. I had an old bicycle that I often rode around the neighborhood, and on weekend afternoons my family would gather around the dining table, sharing stories from the week. Everything seemed perfect until one night, when I was getting ready for bed. I heard a strange noise coming from the attic, a sound that sent chills down my spine. At first, I thought it was just the creaking of old wood or some mice scurrying about, but the sense of fear didn't leave me. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that it was merely the product of a child's vivid imagination. But every night, when everyone else was fast asleep, those strange sounds would resurface, becoming clearer and more unsettling. These noises kept me awake, making me constantly vigilant and anxious about the inexplicable events occurring right above me. The seemingly peaceful life suddenly turned eerie and mysterious. Sleepless nights became routine, and I started to feel like I was living in a horror story with no escape. Little did I know that the horrifying truth waiting for me was far scarier than I could have ever imagined. I rented a room in the house where I grew up to see if I could still hear the strange sounds in the attic. I had always heard that some people, after experiencing traumatic events in childhood, unconsciously block out memories related to those events. This is known as dissociative amnesia. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be one of those cases. That was until one day, while cleaning the attic of the new house my wife and I had just bought, a memory suddenly came to me. It was of me as a young boy tossing and turning in bed at night, terrified of the sounds I heard coming from the attic right above my bedroom on the second floor. It was strange, I thought. I wondered if it really happened. Why did I feel so unfamiliar with this memory? From then on, those memories came flooding back. Memories of my childhood, cowering under the covers in the dark, horrified by the strange sounds coming from the attic night after night. Finally, I believed all those memories were real. But what I couldn't understand was why those sounds had such a significant impact that my brain blocked them out for 20 years. After that, I did what any normal person would do, try to block them out again. But I guess our minds have their own ways of working, because no matter what I did, I couldn't stop thinking about the sounds I had heard as a child. After about a week of carefully pondering what had happened back then, the memories became clearer, and I remembered more about those sounds. They weren't just random noises, but numerous in variety, from creaks and scratches on the floorboards to whispers and moans in the night. But what had caused such sounds, I wondered. Eventually, I came to the same conclusion I had as a child, a conclusion I had been certain of hundreds of times. The house was haunted by some spirit, and anyone living in it would always be terrorized by the sounds it made. I told myself that and continued with my life. Weeks passed, and I tried to get back to business as usual. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't help but wonder if that spirit, the source of those terrifying sounds, was still there. nearly 200 miles away in my suburban hometown of Massachusetts. Eventually, I succumbed to my curiosity. There was only one way to find out, I thought, before Googling the house's address. The problem was that my parents no longer lived there. They had sold the house 5 years ago and bought a new one in a more upscale part of the same town. I had moved even earlier than they did, moving to New York after college. So after finding the house I grew up in on a popular vacation rental app, I logged into my account, booked a night, and patiently waited for the host to contact me. Sure enough, a few hours later, my booking was accepted, and the host sent me a warm welcome message. The only notable thing was that the room they rented out wasn't my childhood bedroom on the second floor, but the guest room on the first floor. "Can I rent the upstairs bedroom to the left of the stairs? I grew up in this house and want to relive some childhood memories," I messaged the host on the rental app. The host replied, saying, "We're sorry, but we've converted that bedroom into storage. It's currently filled with our stuff and can't be rented out. As long as there's enough space to sleep on the floor, it's fine," I messaged the host again. "Are you sure? If you're willing to pay the same rate as the fully furnished room, we have no issue," the host responded. A week later, I took the bus to Boston, then a train, rented a car, and in just 6 hours, found myself standing in my childhood bedroom. The room had been converted into a storage space, with junk scattered everywhere. "I can do this," I thought, as I threw a comforter on the floor to make a temporary bed. "Are you planning to visit your parents while you're in town? Can you come to our house and stay for a night?" my mom asked over the phone after I told her I would be staying in town tonight. "Sure, Mom. I'll come by tomorrow," I replied. "Why are you staying at a rental place when you could just stay with us?" my dad complained after my mom handed him the phone. I didn't blame him. He was just being nostalgic. "Dad, I'm only here for one night. I'll be over tomorrow night," I reassured him. After saying goodbye to my parents and hanging up, I spent the next few hours lying in bed, patiently waiting for night to fall while distracted by my phone. Once the sun set, I turned off the lights, put my phone down, and looked up at the ceiling, my ears ready to listen. But after about an hour of silence, I started feeling tired. My eyes slowly closed, and I drifted into sleep. Suddenly, a noise woke me up. I noticed it was definitely coming from the attic. It was a loud rattling noise occurring intermittently. "There it is," I thought as I stood up. It wasn't the exact sound I remembered hearing, but it was certainly related. So I started investigating, tiptoeing out of the room and down the hall to the staircase leading to the attic, careful not to wake the host. With each step I took up the stairs, the sound grew louder and louder until I reached the attic door. I stood there, trembling, ready to face my childhood trauma head-on. I mustered the courage to reach for the door and was determined to open it. But when I opened the attic door and looked inside, it was empty. To be honest, I never had the courage to venture into the attic as a child, but I was pretty sure my parents didn't keep it as clean as the new owners did. The walls were spotless, and the floor was free of dust. But no matter how clean it was, the truth remained that I could still hear the noise, louder than ever. If it wasn't coming from the attic, where was it coming from? I wondered before another sound echoed in the darkness. "Is everything okay, sir?" A voice startled me. I peered out of the attic door and down the stairs to see the host in her nightgown at the foot of the stairs. "Sorry, I heard a noise coming from the attic," I explained, closing the attic door and walking down to meet her, still shaking and with my heart pounding. "I used to live in this house as a child, but I don't remember ever hearing such a sound." "Oh, you must be talking about the weather vane on the roof. We installed it when we moved in," she said, pausing to listen. "Yeah, now that you mention it, it is quite loud. Sorry about that. If you want, I can offer you a discount." "No, it's okay," I replied, before wishing her a good night and returning to my room. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't hear anything but the sound of the weather vane. In the end, I couldn't find the sound I was looking for. When I woke up the next morning, I felt like a failure. So I checked out, determined to give up the search. As I backed my rental car out of the driveway of my childhood home, I looked up at the weather vane and drove to my parents' new house to stay the night. Growing up in the old house, my parents' new home always felt foreign to me whenever I visited. Of course, the best place was where my parents were, but I felt out of place there. So, it was no surprise that I was eager to leave early the next day to return the rental car, go back to Boston, and catch a train back to New York. That night, after a hearty meal with my parents, I went to bed and soon fell asleep, exhausted from the fruitless journey. But a few hours later, I woke up in the middle of the night to chilling sounds coming from the attic. These sounds weren't like the weather vane at all. No, they were the exact sounds I used to hear from the attic as a child. But how could that be? Could it be that the spirit somehow followed my parents from the old house and was now haunting this one? The terrifying thought sent chills down my spine. All I knew was that after coming up empty-handed at the old house, I couldn't help but investigate when those sounds appeared again. So, like I did the night before but in a different house, the sounds grew louder with each step I took up the stairs. Once again, I gathered my courage to reach for the attic door and was determined to open it. I closed my eyes, fully expecting to see some ghostly figure lurking around when I opened them. But when I opened the attic door and looked inside, I discovered something far more terrifying. I saw about 10 people, gagged and bound, writhing on the attic floor, causing the creaks and scratches I had heard as a child. Around them, plastic tarps covered scattered furniture. I couldn't believe my eyes. My mind began racing. Wait, these people are victims? Kidnapped? So the sounds I heard as a child, how did they end up in the attic? How long have they been there? I stood there, paralyzed by fear, until a muffled voice snapped me back to reality. What are you doing here? I spun around to see a masked figure standing in the doorway holding a knife. Who are you? I shouted, backing away from the attic door. The masked figure stepped closer, and I could see the glint of the blade in the dim light. Leave now and forget what you saw, or you'll end up just like them, the figure hissed. My heart raced as I frantically looked around for an escape. Please don't hurt me, I pleaded, slowly backing away. But as I reached the edge of the attic, I stumbled over a piece of furniture falling to the floor. The masked figure lunged toward me, knife raised. In a desperate attempt to save myself, I grabbed a nearby lamp and swung it at the attacker. The lamp shattered on impact, and the figure staggered back, dropping the knife. I seized the opportunity, scrambling to my feet and running out of the attic. I dashed down the stairs, my only thought being to get out of the house and find help. But as I reached the front door, I heard footsteps behind me. Without looking back, I flung the door open and ran into the night, shouting for help. The neighboring houses were dark and silent, but I didn't stop until I reached the end of the street. I pounded on the door of the nearest house, hoping someone would answer. After what felt like an eternity, the door opened to reveal a bewildered older man. Please call the police. There are people trapped in the attic of that house, I gasped, pointing back toward my parents' home. The man's eyes widened, and he quickly ushered me inside, dialing 911 as he did. It wasn't long before the police arrived, and I led them back to the house. They stormed the attic, arresting the masked figure and freeing the captives. As the police escorted the victims out, I realized the horrifying truth about the sounds I had heard as a child. They weren't just the figment of a scared boy's imagination or the creaking of an old house. They were the desperate cries of people who had been trapped for years, hidden away by a monster living among us. The police investigation revealed that the masked figure was a notorious kidnapper who had been on the run for years, hiding in plain sight. The captives were reunited with their families, and the story made headlines across the country. My parents were shocked and horrified by the revelation, but they were grateful that the nightmare had finally ended. As for me, I was haunted by the knowledge that I had lived above those poor souls for years, unaware of their suffering. The memories of those sounds would stay with me forever, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. If you enjoyed the stories, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with fellow horror enthusiasts. Your support helps us bring more terrifying tales to life. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on our next creepy adventure. Until next time, stay spooky and keep the lights on. You never know what's lurking in the shadows. Thanks you all.